EECOM for a couple of years, and I'm also the current Education and Exponents Director. So the purpose this morning is to let everybody know what we're currently doing on EECOM. There will be plenty of time for questions all the way through. After each speaker has talked about what they're going to talk about, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute, there'll be time for questions, and we've set aside time at the end for anybody with general questions. So I hope that is okay. So the order of the day is that after this introduction, I'm going to be asking Jackie McLeish to talk about the PAS CSNU. Jackie's our PAS CSNU coordinator. We're lucky to have two students who are going to talk about their experiences of doing PAS and CSNU, and I'm very grateful to them for coming along, Aryan and Francesco. We're also going to talk about what assessors are looking for at every stage, and Andrea Dunn, EECOM Secretary, will be covering that. But we also have a fair sprinkling of assessors here today, so I hope they will also feel free to bring in their expertise. We'll be looking at DSNU, which is the highest level of award currently offered by EECOM, and changes to the DSNU. And then we're having a little bit of a change of pace, and EECOM has been looking at philosophy and how to bring that into the churches in a light-hearted and easy way. So we'll be talking about the philosophy game later on. Then we'll be talking, Lynn Edwards will be talking about changes to the CSNU teaching. And then finally, I'll be talking about the route to teaching at the AFC, which I know is of interest to many of you. So I hope we'll be covering most things that you're interested in. As I say, there's going to be opportunities for questions, and I hope that you will enjoy this morning and that you will find it informative. One of the things that EECOM is particularly proud of is that there's a very well-regarded organisation in America, the Institute of Noetics, who recently took a survey of all the known mediumship training organisations throughout the world, and the SNU came out top in terms of the quality of the training that we provide and the standard that we look to see people achieve. So you don't just get a certificate turning up for the day. And we're particularly proud of that because it's been very important to the SNU for well over 100 years, the standard of mediumship. And, you know, we're standing on the shoulders of giants who have introduced teaching over the years. And of course, methods change, but we were particularly pleased that our version of EECOM has not brought the standards down. I'm going to ask Andrea Dunn, our Secretary of EECOM, to start us in prayer. Andrea.
Thank you, Mary. If we could all just join in prayer. Father God, we give thanks for the opportunity to gather from all parts of the world this morning. May our discussions be guided by wisdom, understanding, and a shared commitment to our goals. We ask for open minds, respectful dialogue, and productive outcomes. We do this knowing your love, as always, is with us. Amen.
Thank you, Andrea. And my box in the corner of my Zoom screen, apparently I have switched to a different language. They think I'm speaking German. So goodness knows what they thought Andrea was speaking, because her accent is even more Scottish than mine. So that's just going to unnerve me. But we both have a Scottish accent, as indeed does our next speaker, Jackie McLeish, who will be talking about PAS CSNU. Jackie, if I could hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Mary. Hello, everybody. Yes, slightly Scottish, but still very English in my heart. So if it's football, it's England all the way. So just remember that. So nice to see you all here today, and nice to see so many people engaging with us. Now, I'm going to talk about PAS today. CSNU is being looked at in the next 12 months. So it's been a lot of work to get to where we are today. Oh, apparently I'm speaking German as well. It must be a new thing. So yeah, there's been a lot of work to get to where we are today, and hopefully this little presentation that I'm going to do will give you a even just a little understanding of some of the work that we've done. And then we will have questions later. So I myself have been a working medium for over 30 years, and I've been teaching for around 20 years, maybe just a little bit longer. So coming on EECOM for me was about helping create an environment for students of good, clear learning, essential platform skills, and a foundation of strength to help promote spiritualism for a greater outcome within our religion and for the future. This being said, like every demonstration or divine service, no two are ever the same. Every student I have taught has needed differing support, so no two students are the same. The reason we as a committee started to look at how to change PAS was in reality because people were learning the course, which is great for knowledge, but we're finding that students were becoming lost in the understanding of what we do and why, whilst not always getting supported in their spiritual growth and their platform presence. Many students come to us as a blank sheet. Some believe they know more than us, and others are somewhere in the middle. Realistically, some can give a great message or communication, but they can't do an address. Or they can say a prayer, but do not have the confidence to do the mediumistic work. Each one comes with their unique abilities in maybe one or two areas. And what we need to do is look at how we fill the gaps in between to create that whole person that can give amazing platform presence and wonderful communication. So we've worked really hard to develop an approach of support and care. Now more than ever, students are expressing to us that they feel more supported than ever. And we really hope with all of you here that we can grow this and push this further within our communities. We all know not every student is easy. Sometimes their journey may not have been great. So sometimes we need to just listen and read between the lines to find the best way to teach that particular student. We also have to remember that there are many that learn in different ways. Learning to be flexible in our teaching is really helping students grow and progress. Now, in saying all this, I will say there is nothing nicer for me as a teacher seeing the happiness and excitement when a student gets a pass and is ready to move forward. I have learned more from my students than you can ever learn within a book. Sometimes that human connection is far greater than any written word. We used to have PAS and PAS-I, but we realised that this caused more confusion. We now only have PAS. So no matter where you are in the world, every student does the same. PAS is the foundation for any platform, medium and speaker. You will learn from this course and teachings not only what we do and why, but also about the structure and the formation of the SNU. What I would hope to achieve here is that we recognise that the right support can nurture the smallest seed and enable spiritualism to grow. The first step into mediumistic work and philosophy within the SNU is PAS, the Platform Accreditation Scheme. Let's have a look at what we teach and why. PAS is the basic understanding and learning of platform work. Firstly, we teach the structure of the SNU. Why is this? For any platform worker within the SNU and churches, when you are in the public eye, you may need to talk about why you're there, about the SNU, about the structure, the commitment, what it is. Having a basic understanding of the structure can help your student answer any questions and feel more comfortable within that role. Knowing the structure and the definition of our religion will help the students know what we vote for, why we vote, and why we have a voice in our religion, and that voice is important because each and every voice is moving this forward. And without that, we can't move forward. Then we have the obvious, philosophy and mediumship. We want for our workers to be able to be their best, as this promotes our religion in the best way. Philosophy, for instance, for me, is the reason I go to church, not the communications any longer. But this is also a legality for our services. In any divine service we have to philosophize on our principles, have prayer to our God, and communication, as this is what defines our religion under the Lord Toulson ruling. If we don't do this, then we could lose our charitable status within our churches. The communication or mediumistic part of our service is what many come to our churches and our services for. We endeavour to offer comfort and love from our loved ones and give evidence that life is eternal and the spirit lives on after the physical death. Now, all of us here know this, but many students come into this with their eyes closed. And whilst we can teach the course from a book, we need to make sure not only do students know the responsibility that they have, but they are the best that they can be at that time. Knowledge can give so much confidence. In turn, this can help with the mediumistic capabilities, as when your confidence grows, your gates of belief truly open. TPS1 is the academic side of the course. Students are given a tutor for this. The PAS tutors, students can pick themselves from a list given to them with the course material. All PAS teaching can be accessed online, no matter where you are in the world. Some tutors in the UK do in-person training. This is also in the course material that is sent to students. This gives choice, but not all teachers can accommodate in-person training. We would expect students at the end of their 30 training hours to be able to do a prayer fit for the divine service, praying to our deity, a closing prayer fit for the divine service. Prayer can be overlooked, so this is a very important part of our teaching. An address, 10 minutes, where the student will philosophize on a principle, be inspired by spirit, can add context with a spiritualist quote, and past students can use bullet points if they require. The changes we have made to the speaking side of PAS are: we believe that expecting inspirational speaking at PAS level can be unrealistic and potentially detrimental to a student's confidence. Instead, we've suggested focusing on clear, well-structured and personally relevant presentations. Key considerations in this was personal growth and development. Students should be encouraged to share personal spiritual experience, reflections on how the principles have impacted their lives, alongside using a principle and using God as a clear representation of our values as a religion. Preparation and structure. Students should be taught effective preparation skills, including using notes or outlines, understanding how to bring all these different areas together. Adherence to the Lord Toulson ruling. While adhering to legal guidelines, we can still allow for personal expression and growth. And this is important not only just for the student, but for congregations, for people to watch and learn from a wonderful, inspiring address. There's nothing better, but you have to start somewhere. And at the beginning, sometimes you need a little bit more support there. So by shifting the focus from inspirational speaking to personal development and skill building, we can create a more supportive and achievable learning environment for PAS students. 2 7.5-minute or 2 within 15-minute mediumistic communications. These should give evidence of survival, validation of the communicator, personality, memories, etc. Now, this is an area that I'm really proud of because it's been really hard work. But we have added at least 12 new PAS teachers within the last 2 weeks. This has been months and months of hard work getting to this point. We have given them training session on what students need and their requirements, given them all training packs, and because we are utilising CSNUTs, they know the importance of the job at hand. And most of all, the most important thing for me, they care about the outcome of the students, and they care about spiritualism and this religion. Some of the new teachers are here today, and I would very much like to thank them for their work so far and welcome them on board, because it is a hard but a very rewarding journey. These new teachers for PAS, they will offer feedback in PAS services and SNUI PAS services throughout the year. Students are desperate to have good, clear feedback to grow their abilities, positive, honest, and well-defined feedback. Paula, who's on the education committee, and she books all of the services, all the students in, and now she has already started to assign dates for these services and teachers. My hope is with this many teachers, good and clear, well-defined feedback will become essential in pointing students in the right direction. Remember, many students that are in Europe and beyond do not have what we have here in the UK. They need support. We have requested that all teachers feel free to contact district councils and offer PAS classes within their district. This way, we may be able to offer localised support. We have asked teachers also to consider teaching standalone PAS classes on SNUI and in person in local churches. Classes in mediumship, prayer, philosophy, inspired readings, platform presence, and many more inspiring topics to help students grow. When discussed with the SNUI, we found that some time zones weren't being covered, such as Australasia. So we asked the teachers to consider these times. Less traffic on SNUI at busy times and more choice for busy working students. My hope is the SNUI will become an amazing hub of learning for PAS students in the coming months. In turn, this can create more members, which can be built on for CSNU students in the future. More members, more classes, and great teaching. I hope you can see just by what has been done in this has took about 18 months really all in to get to the point of where we are. We've changed a lot of the material that students get. When they receive their logbook and their welcome book, their material is much clearer, more defined. It shows a path of learning and a path to follow. And this, for me, saves us time because it stops students coming back to us and asking more and more questions. And hopefully this will stop any lost students. What I will say is, working on EECOM, I found that this committee has really come together, and they've come together really to support others. Remembering that we are volunteers, all the teachers are volunteers, all this time that they give is essential for spiritualism to grow. Now, I'm going to tie up there because I think you've probably had enough of me. You're probably sick of this really silly accent that I have. But what I will say is I really want to thank you all for coming and listening and taking part, because each one of us here can create a difference in the future. And for me, that's the only way forward. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
Thank you very much, Jackie, for that very comprehensive coverage of what we are doing with CSNU. And Jackie has worked exceptionally hard to get this going, because we did find that students were getting lost. And I hope that that is very much reducing now. Now, I'd like to introduce Ariane van Gerner, who is going to speak about his experience of being a past student with EECOM. Ariane.
Thank you, Mary. And Jackie, thank you for your lovely introduction. And I do love your Scottish accent. And that's something that is very special to me. The path that I follow now since May last year. So I'm almost at my final assessment board, that's the 2nd of July. The path has given me a community, a very caring community from people from all over the world. So I hear a lot of accents, Scottish, Dutch, of course, my own native language, German. But all those people are very supportive. And that's very important, because the pass is not something that is given freely. Like Mary said, it's not given you just because you attend the service. You have to really work for it. And I think that's very important. But it's not something that is thought to be easy about. You're trained to become an exponent of the SNU. That means you are trained to become an exponent of spiritualism. Now, when I came into the path, I was actually just there, like Jackie said, coming in with my eyes closed, actually. I thought I knew something about mediumship because of the training in the Netherlands. But what I found is so much richer than mediumship. I found spiritualism. And I'm still learning. But spiritualism is so much broader than mediumship to me. It was a discovery from the philosophy, the religion, and the science that is still going on now. And that's very important to me. So I came from mediumship and I got spiritualism. And it feels so very good to me. This has become a fundament in my life every time again. And when it gets hard, because we all have our dark nights of the soul, don't we? There are always those very caring teachers and students around me that I can reach out to help me through this. Now, about those teachers, I really need to applaud them, because they really are very caring, but they also are very experienced. There is not a single question that you cannot ask, and they really do make an effort to raise the standards by giving you honest feedback. Even if you don't like to hear it, you are getting this honest feedback because they recognize the importance of the growth that you came here for. Like I said, I learned so much from those teachers, but also from the students. There are now 4 student divine services a week, and I like to visit every one of them, because you learn so much not only by doing a service, but also by looking and listening to others, and to support each other as well. Now, here in the Netherlands, where I live, we don't have churches. There are no spiritualist churches here. That means that the student divine services and the services at SNU are very important for us to develop and to keep connected with other people who are spiritualists. I've done about 25 student divine services. Actually, I've done about 30 in between. And in those services, you really learn what it means to give an address. You learn what it is to be vulnerable and to rely, to trust in spirit. And that's something I think that is most important in the past, that you learn to cooperate with spirit, to be vulnerable, to take this leap in faith and work with spirit, because at the end, that's what we are doing here in the SNU. We want to be of service to other people. We want to be of service in the name of spirit. And that's something that was very important to discover and to grow in as well. Now, as I'm reaching the end of my little contribution, you might think, is there nothing that you regret? Well, actually there is. I wish I had done this 10 years earlier. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely lovely, Ariane. So lovely. And of course, if you had joined 10 years ago, we would have known you for 10 years. It's been lovely getting to know you in the time that you have been with us.
Oh, thank you so much.
We do have alternative ways of learning for those whom it suits, which is our intensive training. This takes place at Longton Church and covers PAS CSNU. It also covers some of the DSNU training in speaking and demonstrating. And also this year we did an intensive training for those who are interested in private sittings. And next year, Richard Stuttle, who I see is with us, is today, so welcome Richard, will be starting an intensive training for those who'd be interested in doing their CSNU in spirit art. So it's a different way of learning. And hopefully our next speaker will give us a flavour of that, and I know that he will. So I'd like to introduce Francesco Gervasoni.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to share my experience. I'm doing the intensive training toward the CSNU, and that's, of course, include the PAS, as Mary said. It's a 2 years journey, and 6 weeks in total. And we are actually now at Longton National Spiritualist Church. That is a beautiful environment, a beautiful energy to work there. And in 2 years, the first years, you concentrate on your PAS because you still have to do your final assessment board for your PAS in speaking and demonstration. And on second year, you concentrate more on CSNU. And on the end of the last week of training, you will have your final assessment board. I find it a great opportunity to do this intensive training because when you get there, especially you are part of a group, you meet friends from all parts of the world sharing with you the same journey. And I'm happy to see many of them here in the room today and looking forward to meet them in July at our next training session. And you really go deeper with your tutor because you have a tutor that will follow you for 2 years and you go deeper in each topic. So it's not only about speaking, demonstration, but really you go deeper into the SNU, into what is the real philosophy, the 7 principles of spiritualism, the importance of the prayers, all the laws, the rules, the history and the pioneers of spiritualism. So, and since day one, even if you still have to do your PAS, the tutors tell you, we are working already on a CSNU standard because that's what we want. We want to keep the standard very high. So days are really intensive. It's really intensive because you work hard all day, the entire day. And then in the evening, you are brought to different churches where you are asked to give an evening of mediumship. So you get to practice in a real congregation. And for me, I'm Italian, and in Italy we have a big spiritualist center, but it's just one. And so to be able to practice and be in different churches with congregation, people that you don't know, but with your support of your tutor being there and your friends, whether you share the anxiety or your feelings or scared of going into a real platform, because we know, everyone knows that we are students, but there are always expectations. So it's really a tough journey. You need to study hard. You are given homework. You still have to do your TPS 1 for PAS and TPS 2 for CSNU. That's not included. You have to do it by yourself. So it's not enough just to do the week. And I would like to say that you are really supported by your tutor, by EECOM. Our group, we have been in the middle of a transition, and we moved from the Barbanel Center to the Long-Term National Spiritualist Church, and of course, who organized travels and everything changed. And I would like to thank Mary and the EECOM because they really supported us for this change, and also Long-Term Spiritualist Church because they really welcomed us. And they are really supporting us. Their congregation, the people they bring in to support us, is a beautiful experience. So I have to be honest and say that I have been to the college many times before deciding to start this journey. And of course, going to the college, to AFC, is a beautiful experience. I think everyone knows, and who didn't go, I'm inviting you to go there because it's absolutely a unique experience, a lot of learning, a lot of sharing, a beautiful energy and atmosphere. But this is something completely different. This is something you really go deeper into each topic. And knowing that you will be assessed at the end, things that at the college you are not, because here you are working for the certification and studying for the certification, it really gives you another mind concept on how to, it's not a vacation, it's not an experience, it's really an intensive training. And also I've heard during times that during this intensive training is a shortcut in order to get your piece of paper. And honestly, I can assure it is not at all. It is not a shortcut at all. It has a cost, yes, it's true, because it's not cheap. That's why there are alternatives. But if you think you are not paying to get your piece of paper because you have to deserve it, and you need to be assessed, and you will not be assessed by your tutor that knows you, but you pay for an assistance of 6 weeks being with a tutor that really push you and assess you during every session, giving you honest feedback, sometimes are feedback that we don't like to hear, but that really help us to make a step forward. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and whoever would like to join and to do the intensive training, I would really recommend it because it's a great opportunity of studying, learning, practice, meet new friends, and meet new people, different congregations, different churches. So thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for inviting me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco, and thank you for speaking so warmly of the welcome that we have received from Longton. And I'm delighted to see Dr. Stephen Critchley here today, as well as Jill Lawrence, who have put such a lot of effort in to make sure our new home was as lovely as possible. And Francesco has been taught by Donna Barker, who isn't here this morning, but I know that she is a lovely supportive presence to those who are doing that learning. Now, if there's anybody who has any questions of a general nature about PAS or CSNU, please raise your hand. But if it's about your own progress, perhaps wait till the end when we can take that sort of question. So you will have to raise your hand at like this, because otherwise we have about 100 people here today, and we won't be able to see otherwise. Okay, right. So Francesco mentioned.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. I did put my hand up, but it's not coming up on your screen.
No,
to
it
ask
wasn't.
a question.
Carol.
Yes,
Yeah.
can I ask a question? Okay.
Yeah.
I've recently had a request from a past student to become their tutor, but I know that that person, and she's admitted it as well, has been on the scheme for several years, and I'm talking probably about 4 or 5 years. And she's probably done about 20 sessions out of the required number of sessions. Is it still a cut-off point to when a person has to complete their sessions?
It is normally 3 years.
Right, okay, then. Well, I know it would have been less of that at one time, so we're just checking on that.
No, it's 3 years. People can have extensions if there's a good reason, but
Okay.
yeah, it's 3.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much, Mary. Thank
Oh, pleasure. Somebody is screen sharing, so I can't see what's going on. Leva,
Caroline screen sharing. Carolyn Hornbow.
right,
Did you press stop?
right, okay, right, Leva.
Thank you, Mary. It's perhaps a really beginner question, but if you're interested in following the path on a more practical level, how do you express your intent? And it's also, I can understand that it's quite time consuming. Are there any guidelines to this? Thank you.
It is a real commitment, but you apply through the SNU head office. So you would go onto the SNU website and apply through there. But if you need any further information, just contact anybody on EECOM and they will support you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary.
Jenny.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to know, is there a time frame from completing your PAS to being able to start CSNU? I was told you had to leave 12 months in between. Is that correct?
No, there's 12 months between completing CSNU and being able to start your training for your DSNU. But with the gap between PAS and CSNU, you know, there isn't a set period of time. But we do find that people seem to feel that they can move from PAS to CSNU to DSNU. Actually, each time you move up, there are far greater expectations of what people are able to do. So, you know, you have to bear that in mind. But again, there is training and support.
Okay, thank you.
Hope that helps. Margaret.
Hi, just congratulations to you all. Thank you for this meeting. And Jackie, well done. I'm looking forward to the new structure, which I know I have every trust and confidence and respect in your leadership for PAS, which is much, much needed. Congratulations to all the new tutors that you've got on board. Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret.
Nicole.
Yeah, hello. I have a question, because I want to start a CSNU. I have done my PAS already, and I want to start a CSNU, or I've started my CSNU, or writing the TPS too. And I have the question, I have troubles with traveling, and I want to ask you, if I'm doing the CSNU, is there any alternative to this 1 week courses? You have to travel to England because I'm here in Austria. Is there anything planned, or is there any alternatives for traveling?
If I understand you correctly, the CSNU training is the same as the PAS training. You can either have an individual trainer through the scheme, or you do the intensive training. And it's certainly possible to join the intensive training for the last year, in which case it would be 3 separate weeks.
Okay, so I do not need to go to England when I wanted to finish the CSNU.
No.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. So thank you very much.
Okay, right. And I'll take the last 2 questions from Diana.
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Just out of curiosity, what is the foundation of the 1-year wait between the CSNU and DSNU, or the reasoning behind it?
You have to do, well, we'll be talking about the DSNUs later on, but there is a significant gap in terms of what is required at DSNU level. but you are able to spend the intervening year completing the required academic coursework.
That makes sense. Thank you.
And last question from Donna.
Hi, Mary. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for this. My question was similar to Diana's just then. I know there's a year between the CSNU and the DSNU, and you've just given the explanation for that. But I was wondering why, or rather, what is required of you during the gap of the CSNU and the CSNUT? Because that also says a year. Is that correct?
Yes, it's roughly a year. What we were finding was that students with very little experience felt they could just move from one qualification to the next without really doing the groundwork. So these artificial gaps were put in to try and ensure that people, had done a body of teaching work. So I think Jackie wants to answer that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'll be asking me a question, Jackie.
No, I'm not asking a question. I just want to I understand where you're coming from. I've done all this, Donna, so I've been along that process the same as yourself. What I would say is the gaps in between are essential. That's when you do your best learning. When you've just passed, you then hit the ground running. You start really learning from platform to teaching. If you're going from CSNU to CSNUT, start having little groups, start teaching, start understanding your own potential where you can grow students. And these gaps are super important. If we just go along and tick each box, we never really fulfill our own potential. We're just hitting academic criteria rather than actually growing your own soul and growing yourself. And I do think, I know it can be frustrating, but I do think they are amazing gaps to learn.
No, absolutely, I agree with you. But is there no sort of scope, like if we do any kinds of vocational training in life generally, then you do apprenticeships, don't you? So is there no sort of scope on maybe somebody who has a lot of apprenticeship work? So somebody maybe who already does a lot of teaching or already does that kind of thing?
We used to have something, but what we found is that people were applying, their kind of experience they had didn't warrant some of the work that we were doing. And I think yes, having those essential skills are great. If you've already learnt them, that's really good. But remember, we're applying it in a different way here. So I do think that you have to look at what we're doing in your own growth. I think that time period is really essential, especially if it's utilized. What we forget is we just kind of sit things back and go, oh, well, I'll just need to wait until I can do that. Use that time, grow, learn, read, work with others, and you do become rounder within yourself. That certainly is the what I found with myself.
Yeah. I understand you. So it's about putting into place what you've just learned on the course work.
Yeah. And growing
not on the
yourself
course,
for the next.
CSNU. Yeah, it's just because it was CSNU, and then of course when you do your CSNUT, that's part of the teacher training. They're teaching you their standards of how to be a teacher, I guess, in the CSNUT. But then you have to wait a year to learn that, to then put that into place. Does that make sense? That's what I was wondering.
What do you mean after you've done your CSNUT?
After you've done your CSNU, you have to wait a year then to do your CSNUT.
Because what was happening, Donna, many people were coming to CSNUT with no teaching experience at all. If you want to teach, I think the best thing you can do is go from CSNU, spend a year teaching groups, volunteering, meditation groups, inspire yourself within that to learn your own teaching skills. By the time you get to do CSNUT, you will be ready to take the course on and learn different skills on top of what you've already learned.
But I do find that slightly disappointing because, I mean, just throwing it out there because we're having a discussion, could there not be something like, if somebody was already teaching or whatever else, could there not be some sort of assessor that goes and then looks at your teaching skills, see how you do it. If they think you tick the boxes, say, oh, okay, this person can go ahead for their CSNUT now.
You have to remember.
Hi, Donna.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt, because we do actually have an entire morning to get through. I really appreciate your questions.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
That's the system at the moment, for good reasons. And I think it's very important, as Jackie said, to remember that, you know, we're not training people to be doctors, to know more. We're training people to, as well, develop spiritually. You know, so somebody who's at PAS level, as Arian indicated, you learn such a lot. So the person that you are when you first start PAS is going to be entirely different when you're at the top level, as it were. So those gaps are essential. Dan, I'm sorry, I'll take your question later, but I'd like to move on to the next stage.
Thanks very much.
As Francesco said, we have assessments at each stage. The terrifying assessors will look and see how you're doing against agreed standards. And I'm going to ask Andrea Dunn to talk to us about assessing and what assessors are looking for.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning, everybody. And yes, you are hearing yet again another Scottish accent. I promise you that Scottish people are not overtaking EECOM. We are not at all. But I want to talk this morning about assessing, because it's a very scary thought when you feel like you are going to be assessed by people that you don't know. But EECOM have worked really hard where assessors are concerned, and we have gone through training. Most of us have the assessing certificate. A lot of us are working towards our diploma in assessing, and some people have the fear of assessing, the fear of going towards assessment, and the fact that they are being judged. And in a way, it's not about you being judged, it's about your knowledge. And one of the things that EECOM have worked hard on is to try and make the assessors less scary, because we are just normal people. And we've all gone through the exact same. So we understand how you are feeling. And nerves, we understand that you are nervous. I can honestly say that when I do assessments, a lot of the time, I barely know my own name. I am so nervous. So it's something that we all do, it's something that we all know. And when you go for your assessment, okay, whatever you are being assessed in, there will be someone on that panel who has that certificate. So for example, if you're going for speaking, there will be somebody who has got the CSNU in speaking or the DSNU in speaking, and the exact same for demonstrating. So that whoever is on that assessing panel has been through exactly what you are going through. Now, when we do the assessment, there is an interview process. So we usually ask about 5 questions. And this process is not about, you know, it's not something that you can really get wrong. It's about your own opinion and your own knowledge and how you feel. So it's a kind of get to know you session for 5 questions. And then we do our 10 interview questions. And we always say that if there is something you don't understand, just ask and we will rephrase the question. It's, you know, and even if you feel that you're nearly there with an answer, but not quite, many of our assessors will help you, we will prompt you slightly. Because we want you to pass. Nobody wants, no assessor is sitting there wanting a student to remediate on what they are doing. And after your questions, depending on what you are doing, so if you are doing past, you will have your 10 questions, and then you will do your 10 minutes philosophy, and then you will do your 15 minutes mediumship. If you're doing CSNU, you will go through the same process with the interview and the questions. And then you will have an unrehearsed reading, which you will read, and then you will need to speak about that for 10 minutes. And then you will have a scenario, which is a scenario that you really, you would get asked these questions anywhere. If you go to any church, somebody who's really interested in spiritualism would ask the exact same questions. And I want to say this, there is no trick questions. We are not there to trick you. We are there to assess that you are of the level that you are going towards. And then you would do, for CSNU, you would do 15 minutes philosophy, inspired philosophy, and then 15 minutes evidential mediumship. And whether you are doing, and when you do diploma, you do a 20-minute philosophy, but it works the same, 15 minutes evidential mediumship. We try and be as normal as we are in everyday life, okay? When we are giving feedback, it has been spoken about today, sometimes you don't always get the feedback that you want. Sometimes you don't always get the result that you want. And I very often say, anybody, and I mean anybody, can have a bad day at the office. It is unfortunate if you have a bad day at the office when you are being assessed. But when we are giving feedback, we are kind and we are very thoughtful in the way we give our feedback. Because many of us have had feedback and it's not been given in a pleasant way. And it just makes you feel depleted. And even if you have to resit something, we want you to come back. We want you to resit it. We want people out there who are ambassadors for our religion, who have that knowledge and who are willing to share that knowledge. Assessors are volunteers like everybody else. We all give our time up. And sometimes we are giving up whole weekends. And when we do our assessing, sometimes we are assessing from 9 AM till 10 PM at night, with a very short period of time in between for lunch, because it is a very busy time. And as assessors, we have to be as on the ball at 9 AM as we are at 10 PM, sorry, as we are at 9 AM. So it is it's a very rewarding position to be in. There is nothing better than giving positive feedback and telling a student who has worked so hard that they have gained the certificate or the accreditation that they have gone for, because you see the joy in their face. And sometimes, we have had situations where people have just burst into tears because they have worked so hard. But we are just normal people. We're not there to trick anybody, like I said earlier. We're not there just to make a preempt decision that somebody is already going to remediate. We want people to be the best that they can be. And no matter what I say, when you come to be assessed, you are still going to be nervous because nerves are part of that assessment. But we hope with the training that we have received that we make you less nervous and that we make you feel comfortable, because there is nothing better than actually being in an assessment and feeling a little bit comfortable. Because if you're nervous all the time, then your brain's not working. So EECOM have worked really, really hard to bring the assessors together and make sure that when students are actually sitting their assessment, that they know that we have all gone through the same process and that we are there to hopefully help them become the best that they can be at the assessment they are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. I can absolutely reassure everybody, we're all petrified when we're coming up for a FAB. It actually doesn't matter who you are, how experienced you are, the thought you're about to be judged. But that's actually not what they're doing. They're not judging you in that sense. And actually, I'm a great believer in being remediated, because I have been. And it's an opportunity not to see yourself as a failure, but an opportunity to learn a bit more. And, you know, obviously, as the chair of EECOM, I think learning a bit more is a very good thing. But I do remember when I was coming up to do my DSNU in demonstrating, and I had been taught by David Bruton. So, you know, I hoped he'd done a good job. But when Lynn Edwards, who was one of the assessors, and I didn't know her very well at that time, walked into the room, I nearly threw myself on the floor to apologise for my cheek in thinking that I could possibly get the DSNU in speaking, not demonstrating, I'll never get that, the DSNU in speaking. So we do know how nervous you are. Right, do we have, again, any questions specifically relating to assessing? And it's the yellow hand. Ooh, I think we get to move on then. Excellent. So thanks again, Andrea. And just very briefly, I'm just going to talk about the changes in requirements to DSNU. DSNU currently is the highest level of award that we are handing out, and we're continually striving to make sure that it is both challenging but relevant. And a couple of years ago, both DSNU speaking and DSNU demonstrating had to give a talk with PowerPoint, but the reality is very few people are required to do that. So that is changed, and anybody now doing their FAB in the DSNU in speaking is now required to speak from a reading given by the church. EECOM don't know what will be in that reading. It will just have to be Spiritualist. And they're giving a 20-minute philosophy from that, because that is the real experience for exponents. Now, I gather in some parts of the country there are no readings, but, you know, we all ought to be able, those of us aspiring for DSNU and speaking, all ought to be able to speak at an inspiring level about some aspect of spiritualism or our principles. So that's the reason we introduced that change. We have also changed the criteria for DSNU level courses. Up until a few months ago, you had to do SD2, SD3, S5 and D5. And the S5 and the D5 depended whether you were going for DSNU and demonstrating or speaking. But there was a general feeling that many people who currently teach at AFC didn't have their their DSNU, and that we had made it very difficult to progress. We made it very difficult. We'd sort of drawn up the drawbridge so that anybody wanting to get to the college, because you had to have a DSNU to work at the college, and you had to work your way through all those courses. So we have removed SD2 and SD3 to reduce that fearsome walk towards the college. And S5 is currently being rewritten, and D5 will also be rewritten. So what you'll know won't be different, but there'll be less time wasting. And my particular favourite question, which I think might have been an SD2 or SD3, which is how early do you have to turn up before a church service? I loved that question, and I'm very proud of the fact I was able to answer that question with the required 750 words at the time. It was a magnificent answer, but it will be answered no more. So thank you very much for that. And I'm now going to ask Sarah Deverell to take over, and we're going to talk about playing.
Thank you, Mary. I love talking about playing, so thank you. So the play is about the philosophy game. Mary asked some members of the committee, Education Committee, to come together. Those members were Minister Linda Muir, who she led the subcommittee, Minister Myra Hibbert, Minister Brenda Newell, Lorraine Gilbert-Gray, OSNU, Lynn Edwards, OSNU, Carolyn Hornblow, Chris Lane, and myself, CSNU. And we came together to discuss ideas of how we could bring philosophy in a more approachable, inclusive, relaxed way, because it's a very important part of the education system. And we wanted to make that as accessible as possible into the churches. So together we came up with a simple philosophy game to start. It's called Spin, and it's the light version. There will be a more complex version coming out, but we will just start with this light version. There's been a lot of speaking, and we have very cleverly put together a little video of instructions. So please keep your fingers crossed that this video plays nicely for you. So bear with me 1 second, and it explains all about the game. So hopefully you all got to see that. Is there any thumbs up? Did you see it okay? Good, good. So really this was devised so that you can play it in your circle groups. You can play it anywhere. You can play it on Christmas morning as your games if you like, but it can be played and accessed everywhere, and it's to include everyone and hope that you all feel relaxed enough to get involved. We have made the instructions so that they are very clear and cheap to produce for your churches or yourselves. We have produced a QR code on the poster, so you can just, we've come into the 21st century, you can just put your QR code on your phones. It will take you straight to all the details of this game. You can download it, or there's links to buy the philosophy cards, whatever you choose to do. Oh, is that a question? the spin game. Oh, sorry, Donna, just reading. Thank you. We have made a digital spinner, so you can access this spinner on your mobile phones, on your iPads, on your laptops, wherever you want. Or if you are creative and you want to make your own cardboard spinner, you may feel free to do that as well. But you can access this all very easily on the SNU website. As I say, you can just tap in the website and the philosophy game and all the details will come up for you. This video will be available for you as well. I think it was quite self-explanatory, but for anyone who just wants clarification, basically you have your group, you have a volunteer, or maybe your group leader will choose someone if no volunteers come forward. They get to spin the digital spinner. It lands on a principle, and then there's a bag of issue cards, nationwide or local issues. As you saw, you pull one of those issues out, and then you just get talking in your relaxed way. There is no wrong or right answers. I love that bit. There's no wrong or right answers. You can just discuss to your heart's content about the issue. Everyone can get involved, and then there's time for reflection about that principle. Really, it's just to help you get started and to not be fearful of addresses and philosophy, which is what I was at the start. And now I love it. So I hope the game will help you all. We have the lovely Lorraine Gilbert Gray here because she has taken it into her church. And I think if there's time, Mary, Lorraine was going to just say a few words about that. Are you here?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I found this really useful because I was on the group with Sarah, and I took it into a local church who actually run a warm hub. So they sort of invite people in the winter to keep cozy. So I thought, well, good opportunity to try this game to see how it works. And actually, they got very, very enthusiastic. I had 19 people there, and yeah, they loved it. I mean, the spinner, which I've got a big version of, which I can show you in a minute, but basically they did the spinner, and I divided them into 5 groups. For any of you that are teachers, it works wonderfully. And they spun it, and then they picked out of the bag, which I can show you the bag here, which is full of interesting questions. And then they pulled a question out, and they did the spinner, and they pulled out a question, and they were very, very enthusiastic about it. And it was quite amazing how they actually didn't want to stop talking. And actually, well, some of them had a chance to have a go at another question, but most of them just stuck with one question and were getting quite heated between themselves. So it's a wonderful way of bringing philosophy into the community, because these people were talking and enjoying the talk that they were doing. They were enjoying the interrelationships that it caused. And then we stopped them for tea after an hour and a half, and they were still talking about it. So I'll show you the spinner because I've got the electronic version on here, which Sarah's done. So I do a share bit, and it should come up. There it is. There we go. And then I put, basically they could use this on your laptop or on their phone, and it just works brilliantly. And you spin it. And it stops. This is the continuous existence of the human soul. And it does a big celebration for you. So as you can see, it's something that actually is a really good teaching tool in groups for those that are teaching, but also for maybe for an afternoon workshop or an afternoon question time in a church. It's very good for bringing people together. Because one of the things that we know is missing in our churches is that feeling of community. And this actually creates this, but also for those of you that run online groups, it will work on there as well. So you can do it with your online group, and they can actually enjoy the enthusiasm of doing it. As I said, I found it quite interesting that I found it difficult to quieten them down so that they weren't getting so quite hot about it. The questions that you'll come up with were, I've got the bag here. I just pull one out at random to see what it is. So after they've, right, space exploration. So you might have the Brotherhood of Man and space exploration. So how important is that? So that created an enormous amount of talk. Then another one might be racism. That's another one. You might have Brotherhood of Man and racism. So people get really quite enthusiastic about how they feel about current issues, which is one thing that actually we're missing at the moment, is this ability to bring a community into a church, and this actually does it. And Sarah's artwork on the spinner is absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine, for that very interesting discussion of how the groups will work in practice. And it's very important, I think, that we move away from philosophy being something that's very highbrow and difficult for anybody to be involved in. And I know that Jackie Wright, our president, is very keen to see that philosophy takes a far greater priority within the churches and the districts. So it's great. Should point out that the video was not done by EECOM. The video was done by the wonderful communications team at head office, Kyle Pedley and James Frid, and we are very grateful to them. And you will be able to watch it as often as you like, because I believe it's going to go live on the SNU Facebook page at 2 o'clock. So you'll be able to see that very jolly and fun thing. Now, this I feel would be a good time for us to give everybody a very short comfort break. So we're at 11:12. If I can ask everybody to come back for 11:20. Thank you.
Mary, I don't know if you can hear me, Mary, but we missed where we came on the level of the American research. Your mic went out. So we didn't hear how far up the list we are with the American researchers.
Oh, I'm sorry. The SNU's training was judged to be the best in the world. I think we're ready to start again. Sarah, do you want to start the recording?
I have. Thank you, Mary, though. I did.
Oh, great. Okay. Right. The next thing on our agenda today is the CSNU in teaching. And I'd like to ask Lynn Edwards if she would talk to us about that.
Yes, morning everyone. Right, we've got some exciting news now about the teacher training. Originally, when the training first came out, it was over a period of 2 years. Then it got reduced to 18 months, and we're now pleased to let everybody know that we've now condensed it down to a year, which I think is going to be beneficial for the students and for the teaching of that. Now, there is a slightly different criteria, as was mentioned before. So what we're going to do now is we're going to ask people to produce a portfolio. This used to happen years ago and it got stopped for some reason, and I think it is very valuable for us to understand how best people are training and what sort of training they're doing. So the criteria for the teacher training now were on application. The candidate should hold a CSNU in the discipline that they are training and have held that for 12 months. That they have produced a portfolio with evidence and verification of subjects that they have taught for a minimum of 3 years. They will be asked to give a 90-minute training session with an introductory talk, a short tutorial, and a short group work on Zoom. This can be assessed by EECOM. That will give us an indication of, like I said, what you have been teaching and how you teach. There will be probably during this training for the more experienced candidates to do parts 1 and 3 only, but obviously that's got to be discussed in detail after the first lot of teaching. So the proposed revised teacher training would be part 1. This would be a 2.5-day session starting on a Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock and going till about 5-ish, depending on how we get on. So during that part 1, we'll be understanding and planning tutorials and group work sessions, constructing lesson plans, after which all of you will give a 15-minute like micro teach, just so that we know that that subject is being covered in its entirety. We'll discuss the suitability of subjects that you should be teaching. We'll talk about teaching aids, handout, flip charts, Zoom share, all those types of things. We'll cover communication and presentation skills. We'll talk about the talks and the lectures, knowing the difference, and constructing lesson plans for all of these things, all of them with a little bit of a teaching aspect for each one of the students, so that you can be assessed, and you can have peer assessments as well, which I think is very useful to people. Teaching attunement in their chosen discipline, and again with a 15-minute micro teach. So you'd have homework for that, and the homework for that part 1 would be to actually deliver 2 tutorials and 4 group work sessions, complete with handouts and lesson plans. That would go in your portfolio, and all that homework would be checked at the next session. Now, during this time of your training through part 1, 2, we would ask you to do 6 90-minute sessions on the SNUI. Now, this I think would be absolutely invaluable, because when we see you on the day, and like we've said about assessments, as Andrea mentioned, people are under the microscope, and sometimes it doesn't give us an accurate view of how exactly you teach under normal circumstances. So I think that this edition is going to be very beneficial for the students and for the teachers and for the assessors. So these 90-minute sessions, 6 of them in total, will be on the SNUI. These will be assessed, and there will be normal working conditions for the tutor. The next sort of homework would be a 1-day workshop, or 2 one-day workshops, or a weekend workshop, or 6 1.5-hour sessions. The part 2 of the training, again, that would be a 2.5-day session. And that would be how to plan a workshop, a 2-day or a 1-day, and a plan for 6 1.5-hour sessions for one-to-one training, because that can be invaluable for people who just need that little bit of extra work, and to see how you would cope with those sessions. To teach private readings and spiritual assessments, how to deal with questions and from the public and from students, and to look at the group dynamics, dealing with obstacles that you would find, because no 2 students are ever going to be the same. During part 2, you would deliver a 90-minute tutorial which is almost like a mock final board, and deliver a group work session, also 90 minutes, which you would be assessed on and have feedback. And again, the homework for that would be the workshops. In the last part of the training, this is your would be your final board, okay? And that would be a full day of teaching. So in the morning, you do a tutorial, you do a group work. In the afternoon, there'd be a workshop, a mini workshop. So that would be an introductory talk, a short tutorial, and some group work, the title of which you would be given 24 hours before. And in the last part of your final board, there'd be a 1 hour one-to-one session. So has anybody got any questions about what I've said? Henrietta?
Can this whole training be taken online, or should it be done in England? Parts of it.
Right, it should be done face-to-face. That's what we're doing, face-to-face at the moment. We did try it online for a time. And while it had got the benefits that people hadn't got to travel, there's so much being packed into this now that we need people there. We need people face-to-face, because we need to see if people are coping with, you know, with that amount of work. Diane?
Yes. Hi, Lynn. Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Hi, Lynn. I have a question. Because you mentioned that you need a portfolio of what you've taught for 3 years minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so it's also a bit of what was addressed earlier, the waiting time of a year between CSNU and CSNUT. So with this also, what if you've already done the teacher training course week and weekend at the college, and also have about 10 years experience and a portfolio of teaching the spiritualist way?
Right. Okay. So what we did say, that this has been the case with 1 or 2 people. Mm-hmm. If you have got that amount of experience, yeah, mm-hmm. and you've got your portfolio, yeah, you would have the opportunity to do part 1, miss
Mm-hmm.
out part 2, and just do part 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
yes.
Obviously, if people have got lots and lots of experience and have been teaching for a long time, sometimes people do this and then decide that they want to take the qualification. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is in very few cases. Yeah. So they would have the opportunity. We would go through the basics, all the basics in the first session. Then on the second session, there would be all the other little bits and pieces that we do, and just to reiterate that what you've learned in the first session that's gone through, that you do in the teaching, and we can see you doing it online. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
But just bearing in mind, if you miss out the second session and you fail in the third session, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because people will always think that they're at different points. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Jeremy.
Thanks, Lynn. My question was around the subjects that you would teach in your 3-year portfolio. I'm just thinking that you could have a particular favourite subject that you constantly keep rolling out for people, or keep rolling out, but that wouldn't necessarily cover all the areas that would give assessment a good picture of what you can do as a tutor. So is there a particular list of subjects that you have to follow, that you have to demonstrate that you've covered certain areas?
Yeah, well, you'd have to, whether you were doing speaking, whether you were doing mediumship, demonstrating, or whether you're doing healing, you'd have to be able, you'd have to prove to the assessors and to the teacher that you could cover all those subjects. Yeah, because if we're going to say to you, yes, we're going to give you a teaching qualification, we need to know that you know every aspect of that. Yeah. Okay. Frederica?
Hi, Lynn, thank you. When you speak about 3 years portfolio, what should be in the portfolio? So what is for you?
Well, when you any sort of training that you've done, any sort of teaching that you've done, you've put in there. So say if you've done a workshop or if you've done a tutorial, yeah, to have it documented. Sometimes people give the students evaluation sheets, just a rundown of what you've taught and how you've taught it.
So just some sort of documentation.
Yeah, documentation of what you've been teaching.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Katrina.
Hi, Lynn.
Hello.
Thank you for this. My question is, for me, I seem to have done everything backwards. So going from a CSNU we teach, what you're saying is we need to have 3 years teaching behind us. But what if you did all of that before you did your CSNU? Can that still be included?
As long as you've been teaching for a minimum of 3 years, yeah.
Right, okay. And my next question obviously is, it's based on spiritualism, but I've also worked in mainstream for 12 years.
Yes.
Does that help?
Yes, of course it does. Any sort of teaching qualification, obviously, is going to be beneficial for the students, you know.
Thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, but obviously we are teaching about spiritualism. We're teaching speaking, philosophy, or we're teaching mediumship, or we're teaching healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got to cover every aspect of that discipline.
Yeah, and they are areas I have covered in the past before taking the steps towards teaching. So I have done like weekend retreats. I have done, classes within churches, home circles. But obviously that was a lot of years before I went down the avenue of the education.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you, Lynn.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn. And I think it's important for me to point out that this new revised curriculum is very much been brought together by Lynn, but also as a result of feedback from students on previous teacher training courses. And EECOM, above all, strive to ensure that their students get relevant as well as high quality training that can actually reassure them that they are going to be very well equipped into whatever area of teaching they choose to go in, whether that's going to be privately or whether they are hoping to move into teaching at the AFC. So EECOM definitely are very happy at any point to have feedback. People have to understand that sometimes that feedback isn't going to necessarily resonate in terms of other people feel the same. And it's, harking back perhaps to somebody's unique experience. But feedback is very important, and we always welcome any thoughts at all about what EECOM offer or could offer. And our next topic and final topic for the day, though there will be room for questions afterwards, is the route to the Arthur Findlay College, to be teaching at the Arthur Findlay College. And I know that for many people, teaching at the Arthur Findlay Colleges is the Holy Grail and something that so many people want to do. And I think it's fair to say that we're aware of the criticism over the years, not just with this iteration of EECOM, that it's a faces fit type thing. Your face fits, you get in, your face doesn't fit, you don't get in. So we have, again, a small group set to one side who actually looked at what are the issues with teaching at the college, and what can we do? And there was a feeling that, you know, as I alluded to earlier, the drawbridge had been drawn up, and the idea was to let as few people in after them as possible. And to some extent, that barriers were being put in people's way. For example, we're very, very aware that within spiritualism, there are many people who are neurodiverse, and for whom some of the requirements made it almost impossible to get to the AFC, and that's not what it's all about. So we have now drawn up a person spec, just as if you were going for any other job, that tells you exactly what is required, what is essential, what would be desirable, and what we're looking for. EECOM will administer the process, but obviously there will be input from the college. So we'll have to read some of this out. So within the essential requirements of skills, characteristics, and qualifications, because it's not just about how qualified you are. I'm sure we've all come across people who are incredibly well qualified in many areas of life, but are actually quite difficult to deal with. And if you're difficult to deal with, you'll almost certainly not be ending up at the college, because it's all about being able to support the students, being able to work as part of a team, and to support your colleagues. It's not about scrambling over the dead bodies to get to the top. And that aspect, is so important. And again, it demonstrates our own spiritual growth, which is something that is very, very important to EECOM. But that said, you know, there are essential qualifications. So you need to be able to demonstrate extensive working experience of working as a medium, you know, and a consistent record of public work, whether that's within the churches or elsewhere, or particularly, you know, those who are, as it were, more homegrown. You know, what have you given to the SNU? Have you been teaching on the SNUI? You know, what have you been doing to support the growth of spiritualism in its entirety? We also look for evidence of experience of providing private sittings, because that is one of the things that is required of tutors at the college, to be able to give private sittings. And again, experience of delivering at least day-long workshops. So, as I said earlier, you need to be a good team worker and empathetic and supportive of colleagues and students. So that's essential. In terms of the qualifications, the essential qualification is to have your CSNU in speaking and demonstrating. Now, you could be working towards this if you are a very experienced professional. And obviously not everybody has come up through the SNU. And the attitude in the past that if you hadn't done your training through the SNU, then we didn't want to know you. That is a thing of the past, but equally, we have to be aware that many people have slogged their way through the qualifications. So people have to have their CSNU speaking and demonstrating. It is then desirable that they have their DSNU already in their chosen subject. Desirable that they have previous teaching experience in a spiritualist or an educational environment. So we have reduced the barriers. There will always be, a desire to see people as well qualified as they can possibly be, because actually that's what the students deserve. That's what the students who work their way through the SNU system deserve, and that's what the students who come to the Arthur Findlay College deserve, to actually be taught by people who are determined to be the best they can possibly be. That they actually have that real desire to share their love of mediumship their love of speaking, and to share that with the students that they come across, and not just be after the glory of teaching at the Arthur Findlay College, because it's very good for their CV and very good for their financial income. Those, of course, are aspects that need to be taken into account, but above all, it is the person that you are that will get you into the college, though the qualifications are important. Now, to get to the college now, you will need to send in an application to EECOM, which will go through what your qualifications are and your experience. Now, for all those of you who haven't taken my notes in shorthand, all of this is now in the prospectus. So exactly what you need to have, exactly the qualifications and the sort of person we're looking for, all this information is there. So you'll be able to work and demonstrate towards that in your application. So you apply to EECOM through our secretary in the first instance. Successful candidates will then be called for interview. So the interviews will be with EECOM and representatives from the college. And the outcomes of those interviews will be graded A to D. So again, I'm pointing out that there is a set criteria. So the faces don't fit, can't work. If you're graded at A, you will then be deemed as ideal in every respect, and you will go straight on to 3 weeks of mentoring within the college. If you're rated at B, you would have been regarded as a very good candidate, and you will be invited to work for free, of course, to confirm that thought of the interviewing panel. If you're graded at C, you will be viewed as having good potential, and you'll be invited to attend the Teaching Skills Weekend. Irrespective of whether you've ever attended that in the past, this is a brand new start. And if you're graded at D, it will have been thought that you're not currently quite ready to teach at the college, but crucially, you will be given feedback and pointers on how to improve and possibly other areas we feel might be more suitable for you. So anybody who is applying to the college will understand absolutely why they have been graded the way they have, and will be given support, as EECOM have always done, given support to achieve their goals. So the door doesn't close, the door can stay open. So being told you're at D isn't the end of everything, but you may have to change. You may have to change the way you teach. You may have to change your approach with colleagues, all sorts of things, because we're all individual. We're all striving to be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be. And that's exactly what we want to see at the college. That's what the other teachers at the college want to see. They want to work with people who are keen and absolutely know their stuff. So as I said, this information can be found in the prospectus for those who have not been able to take in everything I've said at the moment, but it is clear and easy to follow. Has to be borne in mind that EECOM are all volunteers. And many of EECOM's members work full-time. So if we are deluged with, let's say, 50 applications, it will take time for us to work our way through them. If we just get a dribble, then that's fine. But this isn't something that has an end date. This will be ongoing, so people will be able to apply. But because it's not been clear what the process has been, then we're expecting there to be a fairly heavy series of applications. So I'm just reminding you, we're volunteers, we're human, but there are only so many hours in the day. I hope that answers people's questions. I know that it's something that is very important to many of you to teach at the college, and we want to support that. And the college does want new tutors. Obviously, new tutors are the lifeblood of the college, and it is important for the students to be continually exposed to new ideas. And that is something that will also be seen as very desirable. People who are willing to innovate, people who are willing to bring their new thoughts and ideas to how they work and the way that they work. So if anybody has any questions on that, feel free to raise your hand. Katrina, if you could lower yours, that would be great, unless you want to ask a question again. Jeremy.
Thanks a lot, Mary. What I was wondering about, you mentioned with the application, that stage of it, you mentioned, of course, that you're going to put down your experience in teaching, taking courses, whatever, at churches or centres. I'm just wondering how you'd expect that to be evidenced, because with people going on to the assessor's training, you're requiring 3 years, a portfolio. So if someone applies to be a tutor at the college, how do you support your application?
Well, you would be able to write down where you've worked. You will have to provide references. You may very well be able to show adverts for courses that you've run. There'll be all sorts of different ways. I can't give you a definitive list of what's appropriate because we haven't actually had an application yet to see what problems there might be. But yes, you'll need to be able to evidence everything.
Just to follow up on that, because the other point around that needs to be bear in mind is that we can do a lot of take various courses at various churches and centres, but often the people at those centres change. Unfortunately, it's quite the case sometimes that whole committees disappear at churches, or there are changes. So it's not necessarily able to get the people to evidence that would be one of the issues I was thinking of. So, but as you say, maybe that's something you'd work through with looking at application.
Yeah, and it is one aspect of your application in any event.
Right.
Thanks, Jeremy. Anne.
Hi, thank you so much, everybody on EECOM. It's such a relief to hear that this is in place and that we now have a very clear path. It's brilliant. Thank you, all of you. I'm sure that was a lot of work to get that together. My question, Mary, is those of us who would love to teach at the Arthur Findlay, we don't actually know what it truly entails. Is there some sort of job spec that we'd be given in return so we understand what we're asking for? Because I'm not sure I totally understand what I'm asking for here.
It's never been my ambition to teach at the college, and I'll tell you why. I think it looks like jolly hard work.
Yeah.
As far as I can work out from the teachers I have known, you start quite early in the morning and you carry on all day, and you have to be responsive to students, work on your feet, be able to make instant changes to your program, and then work all night. So it's just working.
Yeah, I understand that, but I just wondered if there would be an official sort of outline spec that.
No, each course organizer, which is who you're working with, each course organizer will have different ideas of what they want people to do.
Yes, of course. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Right, well, getting off very lightly here, I think. We are coming to the end of our day. So if there are general questions that people want to ask, then please do. So I see that we have various things in the comments. The pathway from PAS to achieving CSNU in spirit art. At the moment, all CSNU, like CSNU private sitting, but you have to have your basic CSNU generally in demonstrating. You can now do a CSNU in demonstrating and get your CSNU, which you couldn't before. You had to have both of them. So Angela, I hope that's answered your question. You will need your CSNU at the moment. Tricia.
Hey, Mary. Just a quick question. I did an apprenticeship in my youth, and it was a very comfortable experience. So what I'm wondering is, when you go to the Arthur Findlay College and you're working under an experienced tutor, is it if you get accepted for the teaching position, are you still mentored and taken under wing, because you don't want to necessarily fly before you can flap properly?
You will be given support. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think it's brilliant.
Thank you. Mary.
Hi, Mary. I wanted to ask, because as you know, I applied for my ST2 last year, and because of personal circumstances, I'm only just getting to the end of it now. Because the D5 and the S5 are being rewritten, will some of the questions from ST2 and ST3 be carried over into the new courses?
Potentially. But the existing S5 and D5 are still available to do. We appreciate that some people were in the middle of doing ST2 and ST3 and might be a bit, need to do all that. But sometimes, when we make those big changes, people are going to be caught up in it. So I would not throw your work out.
No, I mean, to be fair, Mary, I've really enjoyed it. I've done a lot of research as I've been doing it, so it's helped me a lot. I was just wondering, if it does get rewritten, then could I then resubmit some of the work I've already done if the questions are the same?
Oh yes, yeah, that's always been the case.
Right.
That you could do that, and you could have previously submitted as part of ST2, for which I gained a very good pass or whatever.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
There is one more little thing, and it's not a question actually, it's just a bit of information, is that for people who are doing their pass or even thinking about it, is that I'm starting on SNUI on the 10th of July, 3 Steps to Success class, which is going to cover prayer, communication and philosophy. And it's going to be a 9 o'clock in the morning class for Australasia. And there's going to be a 7:30 class as well for other students. So there's 2 options to attend it. So even if people aren't even thinking about doing their pass, but they are hoping to work on the platform, it's going to be open to everybody. So I just want
Thank you for letting us know that. And I know that Mary's an excellent teacher, so I would warmly recommend that you attend her teaching. Susan.
Hi, Mary. Hi, everyone. I'm delighted to listen. Sorry, I have a bit of a chest infection. Great to see all these changes and progression, and it's timing, good timing now. But I just wanted to get back to the pathway to the college and the application. So, if you already have achieved your teaching qualification, do you still have to do all the proof and all of that of your teaching?
Well, you will have done that as part of your CSNU
Yeah,
so
yeah.
things like that will be taken into account.
Okay, I just wondered. Yeah, okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Phil.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. It's been an extremely interesting morning, so thank you all very much, yourself and all the contributors. I wanted to ask, in terms of the CSNU and DSNU, are you considering implementing any form of certification or accreditation in trance mediumship in the context either of addresses or private readings? Or would the prerequisite be a CSNU before one could apply for that particular aspect of demonstrating?
We don't currently have a CSNU and a DSNU in trance, but as it happens, EECOM are beginning the process of looking into that and what it would involve, and how we meet that challenge going forward. So progress on that, I have to say, does depend on whether this version of EECOM would get voted in again at the AGM, because as most of you know, all the committees fall, as it were, at an AGM, and then you have to wait to see whether you're going to be reappointed. So it'll be next year, but yes, it is in the pipeline that we're looking to see if we can develop that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Emma.
Mary, thank you. Oh, I'll just echo what everyone else has said. It's been really interesting. I've written a lot of notes. My question is actually when Andrea Dunn was talking about the remediating, like for the CSNU and for the diplomas. What is the normal protocol? Do you get offered extra help, or do you, when you remediate, or does it all depend on how many times you've remediated? What is the normal protocol?
Would normally be offered remediative support, and a teacher would be asked to come in and help.
Okay, lovely. All right, thank you. I appreciate that, Mary. Thank you again, everyone.
Katrina.
Hi, Mary. This has been really helpful for me because hearing everything helps me retain. So as somebody with special needs, I found very overwhelming. So would that support be there going forward, and not be a detriment for me as a no-goer?
I can't even fathom a way in which we wouldn't try and give you the support that you need. Under the Equalities Act, we have to make reasonable adjustments. There are sometimes limits to what we can offer, but where people are clear in what they require and need, we will absolutely endeavour to give them the support that they need, but everybody has to reach the same standard at the end. But we appreciate some people need more help getting there.
Bless you. Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Now, I think there are no more questions. So it just remains to me to say thank you to all of you who have joined. We're going to finish half an hour early. I hope that we're going to get credited with many smiles for that, for not making you stay for hours extra so that we fill the time till 12:30. I can see in the notes that many people have found this an informative and useful morning, and we're very grateful for that. As always, any other questions can be directed to EECOM, where we are always interested in helping and supporting our students. We do try and get to know as many students as we possibly can, and that remains our aim, to support each and every one of you in whatever way you choose. Thank you for joining us, and I wish you a very happy and enjoyable weekend.
Are you doing closing prayer? Did we open?
Oh, Sarah, yes, if you would like to, thank you.
Okay, thank you. May we take this time to give our thanks to all that have been here this morning and all that will watch the recording. We thank you, Father God, for leading us always into making the right decisions and the best outcomes for all. Amen.
Thank you. And if I can say goodbye to everybody, and if I could ask all the EECOM members just to stay on for a very brief moment afterwards. But goodbye to everybody who came today, and thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.